The International Medical University, IMU, in Kuala Lumpur has many links with medical schools around the world. One of their links is with the University of Dundee. And I'm happy to be joined now by Ling, who's in charge of the program in Kuala Lumpur and has sent many batches of students to us as part of that program. Tell us a little bit about why IMU works in the way it does.
Well, the reason IMU was founded was in order to provide more opportunities, initially for Malaysians, to get a chance to do medicine. We managed to bring down the cost of medicine because half of the program was done in Malaysia and the other half in the partner schools. That was one. And of course, also very importantly, it allowed many qualified students to get an opportunity to do medicine. And the only reason they couldn't was that there was not enough places in the public universities as well as the universities overseas.
It's been a great thrill getting to know those students over the years, and of course we've had a long history of a link with IMU with Professor John Swanson-Beck and then
Yes.
Professor Ronald Harden more recently.
John was of course the foundation dean. And Ron Harden was very important with Ian Hart because they were the two medical educationists that worked with us to start the IMU.
This must have been a very innovative idea at the time. What sort of problems did it arose because of it? What problems could you identify?
Well, I would call it a disruptive idea. You know, because it's never been done and it's still the only one of its kind in the world. You know, the notion that you could get a student to do half of it here and then to go overseas. Well, there were of course a huge number of problems that were linked to people not believing that it's for real and trying to recruit students when parents who were often doctors would say, but if it is real, why didn't other people do it? I mean, you expect that. And getting into medical schools was always so difficult. So parents found it very difficult to understand that is a possible way of doing it the way we did.
Of course, it was a big cultural change as well, and I know we helped students coming to Dundee quite a bit in socialising to the new environment. And
yeah, it is really tough.
Because it was really cold as well.
Yeah, it's cold. You know, the language issue.
That's right.
Even if you're fairly good in English, but learning all the slangs and the aspects of communication that's nothing necessarily to do with just language,
that's right.
but behavior and so
Communication
on was really
and body
tough.
language. Yeah,
you see, even if you're a direct entry student, it's always a huge shock when you have to study overseas because you leave your family behind, you leave your friends behind, you know, and it's a completely new environment. But I think it's so much harder when you have to do it halfway.
Of course, the students had a great network amongst themselves. So that
yes, they did.
The senior years helped the junior years when they arrived.
Yes, you're right about that. But the point is, you don't necessarily end up in a university through the IMU with your best friends.
No.
Because it's through a matching system,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And you're going in halfway where you are expected to know so much more. And you have to go into a hospital environment. And you're communicating with the local population. I think that's really tough.
Yes, it is different.
It's really tough.
A different thing which you can't teach. You have to just experience it.
Maybe what it has showed us is two things. One is that this program can work even though it is disruptive and so on. But the other thing is that maybe we have succeeded in getting these students to be lifelong learners, because they were able to make the difference in each of the medical school. There is no such thing as a perfect match between the IMU and any of the partner schools. So there are always gaps. In some areas, our students might be ahead. In some areas, they are behind. But they have to then make the effort to make sure they are okay.
We found that students from IMU had a lot of knowledge of basic sciences and came to us having had a very intense program in foundation sciences, and then they had to adapt and have a bridging program for a while before
because of communication,
clinical work. Yes,
communication and how things, in spite of the British system of education for doctors, which we also inherited, in spite of all that, the hospitals are different, the people are different, and how you deal with people are sometimes different.
Do you feel that you've been able to change your curriculum in IMU in the light of the feedback which these students have brought to you?
We would like to change more, but we've always been very sensitive about the feedback. The reason is if our students struggle overseas beyond what one would call the necessary issues of adaptation, then it will be really tragic for the students, for the parents who've invested so much, and for both the institution, because we will feel that in some ways we have failed. So what IMU has always tried to do is the moment we get feedback from all the partner schools, we quickly try to do something about that. And in fact, we know two very strong changes that have occurred is the communication skills. How much more importance that has been given now compared to 1993. That's one. The other thing we've noticed, which is so strong nowadays, is this issue of professionalism that has come up in all the medical schools.
This is a very interesting conversation that we can have together. Thank you very much.
Well,
and it's
thank
fascinating to hear about IMU from your inside story.
Well, and thank you very much. It's so nice to meet you again, John.
Thank you.